Welcome to Five or Flop, a podcast for the best and worst historical fiction has to offer. I'm your host, Erin.
And I'm Grace, and each week we'll be reading a different historical fiction play to see if they're a five or a flop.
Our theme for the season is All the World's a Stage, and this week we're reading Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot.
Yes, this one surprised me because I did not know that T.S. Eliot wrote plays.
I don't think I did either, and I will elaborate on that in a little bit. But in the meantime, what's been new with you?
Well, my biggest thing of this past week you were present for, which is the Fantasy Gymnastics Awards ceremony.
I was going to say, it's very fraudulent of me to ask what's new as if I haven't seen you like half of this week already.
Yes, very busy weekend, social calendar, but obviously this was the highlight.
Yes, so tell us.
Well, it was at my house. We had a lovely semi-formal evening. I made everyone dress up, even though no one but you and me wanted to.
No, Hannah's always down to. I think that's unfair to Hannah.
Okay, thank you to Hannah. Some people dressed up because they had to. We issued the Sears trophy to Kat. Congratulations, Kat.
Again.
Yes.
Who did not win last year, but won the inaugural year.
Yes. So her second time out of 3. Lovely wrap up early, classy evening.
It was great. I also won an award for most trades.
Congratulations.
And I tied that actually with Sam, but
yes,
that was hard won by both of us.
And to be fair, it was not based on exact numbers because the website shuts down quick.
You know,
so I was just like, I'm calling it a draw.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that was a fair assumption because we both traded a lot.
You did. Very much so. What about you?
Well, I was going to just talk about how busy I am this upcoming weekend, but now I have a rant to go on.
Let's do it.
Which you already had a preview of. But, so I came home from work, and I'm like, I should eat something before I pod record. I have a frozen Trader Joe's butter chicken Indian meal in the freezer. Perfect, right? No, I open it up. It used to be about a 50-50 ratio, rice, chicken.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's about like 65-35 now. They cut the number of chicken pieces, and so I'm still going to be hungry in an hour because of shrinkflation, and I'm really mad because it's the same price, if not more. Probably more than it was at least a year ago.
And you know what? I am noticing this too with the cookie ice cream sandwiches. I am convinced that they are smaller.
Yeah, so Trader Joe's is screwing us. Hence why, that's not why. Everyone is screwing us in grocery prices. So we shop at Aldi again now, so I'll have to report on if Aldi has frozen Indian food meals.
Okay, I hope so, for your sake.
Yeah, I'm really mad about it because that was our go-to, like, because we're meal preppers, we're like, okay, a couple nights a week, we don't want to eat the same thing.
Yeah, you gotta switch it up. That's what I do, exactly.
So that's what I was going to do, and now I'm probably going to have to still eat our meal prep later because it was not filling.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry, too. You know what else I'm sorry about?
The book you're reading right now?
I'm reading Fourth Wing. And let me just say, I have a lot to say about this book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about 70% done with it, which I believe is...
that's a lot.
15 hours.
Okay.
And I was talking to Jen yesterday, and she said, well, how long's the audio? Because I said I was about halfway done yesterday. She's like, oh my God, only halfway done? I go, Jen, how long do you think it is? She goes, 8 hours. No, it is a 22-hour audiobook, which is kind of painfully long for an audiobook.
Uh-huh.
And I like this audiobook narrator. It's the same voice actress who did the Lunar Chronicles, actually.
Oh, nice.
So I do like her for the most part. Big upgrade from the selection.
Mm-hmm.
Big upgrade from the selection. So that's kind of the only upgrade.
See, I thought because you were coming off the selection, you would be in the frame of mind to be like, oh, I wouldn't call this good, but I'm having like a fun, campy time. But you haven't quite gotten there.
No, I think it's just so long.
Yeah.
And it does not need to be that long. She could have cut. She needs a better editor. They haven't had sex yet, so I'm like waiting for that because I think that will obviously shape the reviews because I know that's like what this series is known for, from my impression of the series.
I think in a somewhat, I find that to be a little bit misogynistically tinged.
Yeah.
Because I think people are just like, oh, like you girls are just reading your smut books. And it's like, okay, it's not a smut book if it has one sex scene in it.
No, I agree with that. I am ready to be proven wrong, but that is the understanding I'm coming in with.
I didn't read the other two. I've read the first one, and then I stopped immediately.
So, the other two could be smut books. We don't know.
It's very possible. I mean, because that's what happened to ACOTAR.
Yeah. Yeah. For real. Which is on my list for rereads, by the way. It fits into this genre I'm rereading of YA, but also smut books. Yeah, Violet, Pick Me, Glass Bones, Paper Skin, SpongeBob meme, Dane, the forced love triangle best friend, hate him. Zayden keeps calling Violet Violence, and I'm like, this is so annoying.
That's not a good nickname.
I want to smack him every single... God, he makes me so annoyed. I think there's a very interesting world building. I think I don't have that much context yet that I'm hoping comes in the later books. And I think there is a lot of telling us what's happened. For example, when Xaden and Violet meet and she goes, he starts the exchange. I hate you because your mother killed my father. And then she responds, I hate you because your father killed my brother. Almost verbatim to that.
Well, hey, good reasons at least.
Yeah, but like you don't tell me that upon your first meeting.
No, generally not.
But yeah, so it's a long audiobook. I might actually switch to reading it for the other ones.
Interesting.
Which I've been like, this would be the first one in my rereads.
Are they crazy on hold times? Have you checked yet?
I haven't. I would imagine not. It took me a couple weeks to get this one.
Okay.
I think there's just so many copies.
Probably.
So it might be crazy on hold times for the like hardcovers. I don't know. But again, I think there's so many copies in DC. But then I have to deal with the MLK checkout. And I don't want to do that either. So anyways, we'll stay tuned.
It's tough. It's a tough world.
Stay tuned. What are you reading? Hopefully something different.
Well, yes. And it's actually pod relevant.
Oh!
Because I have just read The Pearl Thief by Elizabeth Wein. That name, if it sounds familiar to our listeners, this is one of the other books in the Codename Verity cycle.
And it's not the one I've read, which was the Enigma Game, is the title, I
think?
Okay.
Yes. So there's 4 of them. The one that neither of us have read is called Rose Under Fire.
Yes.
But The Pearl Thief is a prequel that is set when Julie, aka Verity, is like 15.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a mystery, and it's set on her like grandfather's Scottish estate in the summer, and it has to do with her and a family of travelers that are living on the property.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I thought it was not to the height of Codename Verity. Obviously, the plot just doesn't, it's hard to provide that level of drama.
Yeah.
But still very charming and fun to read.
Imagine if she did that for all 4 books, though.
That would be a bit much. I would be like, give them a break.
Yeah, like give them something. But I wouldn't be impressed with her skills.
Yes. I do anticipate some crazy buildup for the one neither of us have read, because I think it takes place in Ravensbrook.
Oh.
Yeah. Famously where they sent the girl from Guernsey, and then the main character was like, ugh, I hate her. I wish she wasn't alive and on Guernsey.
And then they cut her out of the movie anyway.
Exactly. But yes, so we have both made progress.
To our respective goals of whatever order we had committed to, which I would have to go back.
Honestly, I think that we just were like, we'll both do it differently. I think publication versus chronological was blown, because Codename Verity wasn't first in either of those. Yeah.
So we'll see. I should really add this to my like YA read list. It's very different in terms of genre, but who cares?
You'd sneak it in there.
Who cares? Yeah. It's at least rating higher than The Selection and Matched.
Easy to do.
Easy to do. All right, should we talk about Murder in the Cathedral?
Yes, and I think you should read us the synopsis.
I would love to. I don't remember where I pulled this from, so, wherever. Murder in the Cathedral, written for the Canterbury Festival in 1935, was one of T.S. Eliot's first dramatic achievements, and it remains one of the greatest plays of the century. It takes as a subject matter the martyrdom of Thomas Becket, Archbishop of Canterbury, depicting the events that led to his assassination in his own cathedral church by the Knights of King Henry II in 1170. Why am I struggling with numbers? Anyways. Like Greek drama, the play's themes and form are rooted in religion, ritual, purgation, and renewal, and it was this return to the earliest sources of drama that brought poetry triumphantly back to the English stage at this time.
Okay, well, I have no comment about poetry leaving and triumphantly returning to the English stage.
I was going to say that it seems like a pretty confident statement to make. I have nothing to doubt that.
Sure.
But I have also never heard that before.
Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Sure.
So this one was one of my recommendations for the season. And by that, I mean when I was Googling historical fiction plays, this was, I think, right below Shakespeare.
Oh.
So it was very highly recommended.
Okay.
Let's talk about T.S. Eliot. Again, another heavy hitter for the season.
Yeah, we've got a lot of names.
So he won the 1948 Nobel Prize in Literature. I was actually thrown off because on the cover of the edition we both read, it said winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. And I was like, he won it for this play?
Oh, yeah, but sometimes they just give you that for doing an overall good job.
And that's what I think. I didn't look into it. I should have. I didn't really look into it that much. But that's what I think. Eliot is a poet, dramatist, literary critic, editor, and publisher. I think best known as a poet, at least
To me, a poet.
to the Erin and Grace community. This is among his most famous works, along with The Wasteland and Four Quartets. His play The Cocktail Party won the 1950 Tony for Best Play. And this is where I'm going to sidebar and say, I might have read that in one of my undergrad classes, and I don't remember. I read some renowned literature that took place at a cocktail party. I could not remember if it was a play or not. I tried to investigate, and I could not confirm either way.
Okay, I read, not the whole thing, but I read sections of The Wasteland in high school, and I could not tell you a single thing about it. Like, I have zero memory of The Wasteland.
I also read it in college, I believe, in probably my poetry class, I would imagine, which I
Where
hated.
else?
I really liked it, and I went back and skimmed through it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to reread this again before the pod. But anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I have to give a disclaimer about T.S. Eliot, because we like to flag for our audience when an author is problematic, and either we knew or did not know going in, and this time is one of the more common cases of we did not know.
Mm-hmm.
This note comes from the Poetry Foundation, the website where, free and easy access to poetry, which is great. Despite his enduring popularity, Eliot and his work have been criticized as having prejudiced views, particularly anti-Semitism. Also, his mentor was Ezra Pound, who the Poetry Foundation cites as a known fascist, and I did some surface-level research, because, he's not the pod author this week, but if he was an influence. He was apparently a propagandist for Mussolini.
Not great.
Not great. So, be aware of that. This play has to deal with Catholic martyrdom, so no really...
It's fine.
It's fine. There's no apparent anti-Semitism in this. But, just be aware of that if you're engaging with T.S. Eliot. Read anything else, seen affiliated media? We've talked a little bit, but oh boy, have we.
We haven't talked about his most important work.
His, I would say, most important influence on the literary canon and also on my life.
And probably his most enduring legacy, even if people don't know that.
And that is that he wrote the poems that inspired the musical Cats.
Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. And something else people don't realize, even if they go to see Cats, 90%, I say, of the lyrics are just T.S. Eliot poems.
Pretty much word for word.
Yeah. Memory, Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote. I don't think anything else.
Maybe like some filler lyrics.
Yeah, here and there. If you've seen Cats, you have absorbed the work of T.S. Eliot.
So really, us going to see Cats at Jellicle Ball several years ago at this point.
Sad that so much time has passed.
I know. And now it's on Broadway, but tickets are very expensive.
Yeah, we've seen it.
We've seen it. It's okay. Early pod research.
Oh, absolutely. We didn't know it at the time.
Now I have to say Cats was the musical that brought me and my sister into musical theater in our youth.
Mm-hmm.
Because for one Christmas, birthday, something, my grandma got my sister a DVD stage recording of Cats the musical. My sister still has it. I'm surprised it still functions based on the number of times we watched it.
Oh, wow.
As children. I have not seen the newest movie, which one would think because it's Taylor Swift, but Taylor Swift is known for only being in terrible movies.
Oh, yes. Her manager that's in charge of that, not good.
Well, I have to imagine Cats, she wanted to do that.
Oh, I bet.
And the entire time I was at the Eras tour, and every time I wasn't there too, I was like, please, please, please let the surprise song be Beautiful Ghosts.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which, when Santiago and I went on our cruise and we did the private karaoke room, I did get to sing.
That's beautiful.
But I can't whip that out in front of a crowd.
No. The Cats movie was when I got Cats pilled, for lack of a better term.
Really?
I saw that movie when it came out, like on New Year's Eve. Like midnight passed while I was in the Cats movie.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's the only,
Bringing in the new year of 2020. Yeah, so I have been, as you put it, Cats pilled.
For a long time.
For a very long time. And I remember in probably middle school checking out Old Possum's poems from the library. So, T.S. Eliot, you got me there.
All right. Now, let's see if we can talk about Murder in the Cathedral for an equal amount of time that we just talked about Cats.
I don't think so, because I'm going to bring up Cats again.
Yeah.
All right, disclaimer. Our judgments come based on the book and characters within the book rather than any real historical figures they may have been based on, which is entirely the case, I would say.
Yep.
And spoilers ahead.
Well, spoiler alert, Thomas Becket gets martyred.
Yes. Spoiler alert, he dies.
Mm-hmm.
What were your overall thoughts?
I really liked it.
I really wanted to like it, and I thought it was fine at best.
And that's a shame because I feel like this, more than anything else, subject matter wise, sits like right in the middle of our two groups of interests.
I was so excited because I am a religion major. I love Catholic theology. I love martyrdom. I wanted to like it. So I started out liking it. Do you want me to continue on this train? We can come back to it because I'm...
Continue on the train.
Okay.
I'll stop you when I have something to rebut or to argue.
Okay. And I will say, I thought it was written in verse. I thought it was very beautiful. I thought the language was very beautiful throughout.
Me too. And I was not expecting to like that because I'm not a big poetry person,
Mm-hmm.
but I really enjoyed reading it. And I also think that it would be easy to put on a stage without it seeming pretentious. Like, I think it would fit very well.
Yeah, I think so too. I would actually be very curious to see it on stage because there were none at all stage directions. Or
no,
very limited.
Not really.
No, okay.
There were like enter and exit, but that was kind of it.
The play kicks off, and I'm going to have to talk a little bit about the history as I go to.
Lead in.
Beckett is coming back from exile in France, which I will talk about in the historical accuracy. So he's coming back from exile, and the church people are like all excited. They're like, oh, Beckett's coming back. And then he's visited by different tempters who are kind of like tempting him with different things. And the first three are like yada, 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 political power, blah, 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 all of this. And then the fourth one is the most interesting because basically like the tempter is like, you know what, all this political power, but like if you die a martyr, like you'll have so much power in heaven. So Beckett is starting to have like this internal battle.
That I thought was so good and so interesting because the first tempters turn up with stuff that Beckett can turn away easily and that he doesn't actually want.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get hooked into the heart of it, which is him being torn between his actual desire to be a martyr and the fact that he recognizes that as selfish and a sin. Which
is actually very interesting because, like, I remember from my days of being very Catholic, people would talk, like, a good bit about, like, ladder climbers in the church, which were, like, priests, like, purposely trying to, like, get to higher, like, you know, same as it is in the corporate world, people trying to get to positions of power. And it's interesting to see that as, like, this is also kind of ladder climbing. I liked how that was presented.
Yes.
And then the interlude of the play was his actual homily that he gave at a Christmas service that's called for the excommunication of certain priests, which kicks off the event, and I'll get into historical accuracy again, kicks up the event of the Knights of Henry II coming to assassinate him.
Yes. And for reference, Henry II, 2 kings before King John of Shakespeare fame.
Thank you for doing that, because I spent the whole time, I was like, this is so close, and yet...
I checked. I was like, I know it's around there somewhere, but I don't know in which direction, and I was like, I want to.
I thought it was the other way.
Me too.
But, because he had like we don't have to talk about King John again. Anyways, and then we got into the second act, which is where the knights come to kill him. And
yes.
Spoiler, they do.
And do.
First, I'm going to talk about the first thing I really hated, and then I'm going to talk about the second and third things I really hated.
Okay.
And you and I disagree on this first thing.
I know. And this is like the most controversial part of it, I feel like. And I completely understand you not liking it. But it worked for me so well.
And I was wondering if it was controversial or if I just like hate this. As we know, I don't like this in plays.
To be frank, I don't know how other people feel about it, but it was just such a tone shift that it made me almost gasp.
Based on the Storygraph reviews, it does seem a little controversial. It seemed like there were pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even say what it was. It's a massive fourth wall break where the knights are talking about, not in that versy language, just talking like straight at the audience about like why they killed him.
Yes. Almost in the style of like a corporate PowerPoint presentation.
That is exactly what I thought of.
Like they're referring to each other by their full names. Before that, you were just kind of seeing them as these like metaphorical grunt like representations of this like chasm inside of Beckett torn between these two desires. And then they just become like actual people who you're like, oh, these are 4 guys that spend a lot of time together and this is their job and they talk and they think.
And they're shirking off a lot of the blame. For sure.
Oh,
that's like the, you don't need to know the specifics, but that is like the biggest thing that comes out of it. To me, the entire play itself was very liturgical. There were parts of it that felt like a church service in the way it was written, in the way it was presented, the pacing of it. I think especially with that homily as the interlude. So I think that worked really well for me. And then it just like snapped me out of like that effect I had while I was reading it to such a jarring degree that I wanted to throw the whole play down.
I get that.
I was just, and I don't know how this would present on stage. Could be great. Reading it, it snapped me out of it. It pulled me out of the entire mood. So that was, I guess, the second biggest issue for me is that just the mood had carried so well, but then immediately tied to that, it couldn't recover.
Well, because one of the things about this play is it's not very long.
No.
I feel like you could do it all the way through with no intermission. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. There's really not plot.
No.
Like, Beckett gets martyred, but most people watching the play would already know that going in. So that's not a mystery. It happens like at the halfway point, you know? So you're just there for the prose, like the language, the poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see how a tone shift like that could just completely turn you off to the whole thing. Like, because there's not as many elements for it to rest on as a play.
Absolutely. But you had a different opinion.
I thought it was fun. This is not a play that's very fun, but I also just think it was it surprised me. I didn't expect it to go there, which I think clearly is the intention, because neither you nor I thought it was going to go there. And it's such a dramatic tone shift from the way that the play started. I liked the different perspectives, because you also had that before in the Greek chorus of the women of Canterbury, who are basically like, here's how this is going to impact us.
Yep.
Like at the beginning, Beckett is returning from his exile, and they have this whole thing that's like, you are going to make our lives so much worse, even though like we love you and stuff. You're going to make our lives so much worse, and they're already kind of bad. I don't know. I just thought it was a really refreshing perspective. Sometimes gimmicky stuff like this in theater that's a little experimental does not work for me, but this really worked.
I would be interested in, you know how sometimes when they do productions of Shakespeare, they change the setting? Like when we saw Love's Labour's Lost, and it was set in like an 80s high school.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see this, since you mentioned it was like a corporate presentation, in like set in like a corporate office environment, and then have them with like PowerPoints in the back. I think that could be a really fun staging of this.
You have to be very careful about that in this post-Luigi world that we live in.
But that's what it could be like. They could go with that. That would have been so interesting. I'm not saying it hasn't been done or won't ever be done, but I think it would be interesting.
I genuinely wonder, like, how many productions are there of Murder in the Cathedral, like, nowadays? Because maybe this makes me a Philistine, but I had never heard of it.
No, I hadn't either.
So, I know, and the synopsis was, like, the best play of the 20th century, and I'm like, okay, sure it is.
When we finish recording, I'm going to look it up, and I guarantee you there will be one that finished producing in the DMV, like, 2 months ago. As with every other play this season.
It's probably...
So my other issue, and this is something that I really like that internal conflict of wanting martyrdom, right? But then I didn't really have the context and understanding of who Beckett was as a person before he was the Archbishop until I did my historical accuracy. And that kind of, after I did that, I think and I would talk about this during historical accuracy, I think if it had been in the play a bit more clearly, I would have appreciated some of it more. That internal conflict. But to me, reading this, it felt like by the time I finished the play, the first half, or, you know, the pre-interlude, I don't know if I want to call it Act 1. I will call it Act 1, Act 2, for simplicity's sake. The first act felt like it was only there to justify the second act. In terms of that, like, internal conflict for martyrdom.
Yeah.
And I think after having that, I was just like, I feel dissatisfied.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah. I really liked this one starting out, but it took me a minute to get
into carry you across the finish line.
No, it took me a minute to get into the poetry, because I'm also not a huge poetry fan, but it just like, it fell off for me, and I'm really disappointed. I was so excited for this one.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you have to say in historical accuracy.
Yeah, is there anything you want to cover before?
My only other point was the somewhat sporadic use of rhyming.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked it, actually. Sometimes characters rhymed and sometimes they didn't. That made it more impactful for me because the tempters all rhymed consistently.
Oh, yeah. I liked that a lot.
So it just made them a little spooky, because sometimes the other characters, especially Beckett, would just talk normally. Actually, especially Beckett, and especially the women, the chorus of women, would not rhyme all of the time. So it just kind of made them feel more like ethereal and just like a little spooky.
I did like that. So yeah, that's what I meant. It was set up a really good vibe and atmosphere for me, and then the fourth wall took me out. All right, historical accuracy. So Thomas Becket became Archbishop of Canterbury in the 12th century, and one of his closest friends was Henry, later King Henry II. They were like boyhood pals.
Okay. And I can't remember off the top of my head now, but I think this was King John's dad. Like, because I think King John's brother was king, and then he died, and then King John was king. Maybe it was his grandfather, but I think it was his dad.
If anyone wants to do independent verification research, you're welcome to do so. he worked in King Henry II's court for a while. He kind of seemed like a rich, spoiled boy.
Okay.
Like a little bit of like a party boy, spends a lot of money type of vibe. So Henry II was known for administering common law, but members of the church commonly avoided common law justice because they claimed benefit of the clergy, which basically meant we have the right to be tried by the bishop's court. The church was exercising a lot of power, getting a lot away with like a lot of exploitation, a lot of like really not great activities going on.
So they had their own separate like justice system.
Yes.
That's not good.
And they were not, as the church is known to do, not holding itself accountable. So Henry II really wanted to get the church to be more obedient. So he promoted Thomas to archbishop, which was seen as like completely out of left field. He was an unexpected pick. King Henry was like, you know what? He's my buddy. He's going to get the church in line. However, what he didn't expect was Thomas became actually incredibly devout once he was made archbishop.
Okay.
He kind of had like a one website I was reading called it like a born again experience. But he still held that the church was above the law and not subject to common law.
Okay.
Because of that, Thomas was exiled to France for around 6 years before returning to Canterbury at the start of this play and preached from the cathedral on Christmas Day and excommunicated some of his fellow bishops.
Okay.
And Henry II was then, historically noted, theorized, I don't know the accuracy of this, to say, will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?
Turbulent is very funny.
However, what was especially unclear was if he actually ordered the knights to get retribution for his actions. It is thought that he just said this in frustration. Like, well, just get rid of this guy. And the knights took it seriously.
And they were like, okay, we'll go kill him right now.
And the knights were like, yes, sir, we're on it. So the knights went to kill him as a result. And this was like a couple of days later. I believe this was like the 29th of December. And Henry was apparently so horrified that he, quote, donned sackcloth and ashes and starved himself for 3 days as penance.
I don't know. I mean, I guess when it's the head of the church, you feel worse about it. But I feel like back then, if you were the King of England, you were just killing people.
I know. That's what I think, too. So I feel like he put on a little performance for the Pope.
Probably.
So Becket was hailed as a martyr and canonized in 1172, so right after. But his shrine was destroyed during the Reformation in 1540 by those damn Church of Englanders when King Henry VIII ordered his bones destroyed and all mentions of his name obliterated. If you're not familiar with Catholicism, bones of saints are a relic or like a holy item. People go there for pilgrimages and blessings. So that is why that is, notable. And now he is only marked by like a single stone.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Still, a saint within the Catholic Church.
Well, good for him.
So, like I said, I wish I had known a little more of his backstory, like a little more of why he was exiled, and the fact that he was kind of like a party boy makes more sense with the Tempters.
I see what you mean. Also, it kind of sets up that, like, greedy side of him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think if I had not done the historical accuracy, maybe I would have been more satisfied. I don't know.
It's sad when it makes it a little worse, because a lot of times, even if you're feeling a little middling on a book, doing the research can make you think, oh, that's interesting, but...
It's just like, there's context missing that I think would have enhanced my reading experience. Can't say the same for everyone else. So with that, I think we're ready for our star calculator.
I think so. Would you like to remind our listeners of our categories?
Yes. So we are scoring on the categories of historical accuracy, originality, characters, prose, and vibes.
All right. I'll go first, if you don't mind. Historical accuracy, I'm going to go 2.
Okay.
It's hard for me to judge between 2 and 3, because I'm not sure if 2 is too harsh, but...
Yeah, there was context missing.
Yeah, so I'm going to go 2. Originality, 5. I mean, come on. Maybe the topic isn't that original, but the treatment of it, I think, is. So that's worthy of a 5. Characters, 4. This is an interesting case because it's not really like there were that many characters in the traditional sense, but I like the kind of archetypes that were created. Like, you have Becket as the only real character. You have the chorus of the women. You have the 3 priests. You have the 4 tempters. And then kind of the about face of the knights who you don't think are anything, having these very distinct separate personalities, I think is worthwhile. Prose, 5. I thought it was fantastic. And I am a poetry not a fan. So it takes, so I was definitely converted by this one. Vibes, 4. It was great. It was fun to read.
All right.
Yeah, I did not read this one in one sitting. And so far, you know, there have been some exceptions, but I'm kind of learning it's better for me if I don't make myself read them in one sitting.
Fair enough. It's because you're like, oh, it's so easy. It's just like
it's just
couple
a play.
pages. And then you're like, oh, it's an entire play.
Yeah. So what is that?
That's a 4.
That's a 4. I think I gave this a 4.5 on Storygraph. So this is fine leaning 5 territory for me.
Incredible. Okay, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Historical accuracy, you were actually a bit harsher than I was. I was going to go 3.
Either way, I think it makes sense.
I like how it functions as a snapshot, and who knows, maybe when this came out, people were more educated about Thomas Becket than we were. It also was, you know, apparently what brought poetry back to the stage in England, and maybe if you're an English audience, you're a bit more familiar with this story.
Mm-hmm.
Originality, I do have to agree with you on 5. I think this was incredibly original, and I think the treatment was very original. However, characters, because some of that context was missing from Beckett, like I had a hard time clicking with him, and I'm going to go 2. And also I really like the Tempters, but at the end when I got there and I'm like, well, it just feels like they were just justifying the entire second half, you know. Prose, I would go 4. Sometimes the poetry was, you know, a little bit made it trickier to follow. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But then that jarring translation is going to be what costs it a point for me. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's costing it 2 points. That jarring transition to just prose, like, kind of upset me. And then vibes. It's been a long time where we've had one that I was so excited to start, and I was so excited to be reading it for the majority of it, and then just drop off a cliff like that. I have to go 1. I'm so upset by it.
It hurts worse when you expected it to be good.
I know. And that's a 2.8, and I think that's right on the fault line of flop and fine-leaning flop. But since he's the author of Cats, fine-leaning flop.
T.S., you just clawed your way back up.
Literally clawed. All right, well, that's been our biggest discrepancy in a long time.
It has. But I feel like not that we ever fight, because we understand each other, but I feel like I understand everything that you say.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're wrong about any of it.
It's like one of the... I always think of the Underground Railroad, where I'm like, wow, everything Grace said is 100% correct, but if I was in a better mood, I would agree with her, but I was in a bad mood when I read this book, so... That's actually on my reread list. Not part of the challenge I'm doing with the YA book.
No.
But it is separately on the book list of books I want to reread. So, second chance coming soon. Second chance pod season. All right, well, what do we got on deck, Grace?
Next week, we will be reading Life of Galileo by Bertolt Brecht.
Yes. So, also kind of staying in the Catholic Church lane.
A little bit. Actually, a lot.
All right, until then, make sure you're following us on Instagram and Twitter for all the latest updates at @fiberflop_pod. And I think we're not quite at the halfway point.
No.
For our Storygraph reading challenge.
We're a little bit shy. If you want to check us, you should go check it out.
And don't forget, if you have any things we should be reading, any books we should give a second chance to, fill out that recommendation form in the bio of all of our socials, or just shoot us an email, fiberfloppodcast@gmail.com.
And in the meantime,
happy reading!
Bye!